Hello, guys, and welcome to the very first episode of my Delphi programming series. Now, my name is Lucian Blichnout. I'm a grade 12 student in South Africa, currently taking information technology, and Delphi is one of the programming languages we use in our programming syllabus. Now, as I just mentioned, these videos will mostly be targeted towards grade 10 to grade 12 students in South Africa, currently taking information technology. So I really do hope that my videos will be of help to you. Now, as the title suggests, this is going to be a very brief, basic introduction to Delphi, the actual application of Embarcadero, and we're going to look at creating our very first Hello World program. So let's dive right into it. Now, as you can see, I'm currently on the main dashboard. You'll be greeted with this once you open the application. So to start a new VCL application, in version 10.3 Community Edition. Now, that's the version I use. You do need to note that in schools they use licensed 2010 versions of Delphi, at least the schools I've been to. So the layouts and everything will look very different than mine, unless you do have the Community Edition, but otherwise everything will work exactly the same. You don't have to worry. So in 10.3, you can just go here to create a new Windows VCL application. Now, in high school, we just use VCL. We don't use FireMonkey or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about the rest. Just know that we always create VCL applications. So you can either click on this button, or in the other versions of Delphi, you can go to File, New, and then Windows VCL application. Just click on that and it will open the form. There you go. So there is our form. It looks very bland at the moment, but we'll change that very quick. So this is your form viewer. This literally just displays the UI of your form and all the components on it. So you'll notice when I run this, it'll just show a blank form. There's nothing on it. It is just blank. So let's start here. On the left, we have the structure viewer. Now the structure shows that, as it says, the structure of your application. When you start putting components, and this is especially useful later when you start doing your pats, when you start adding a lot of components to different forms, this will help you see the hierarchy of your application. So which components have parents, which parents have children, and you can sort of see everything in a nice listed view over here, instead of it all bunched up on the form itself. Then we have the object inspector, probably the most important part of this entire interface. The object inspector allows you to change the properties of components. Now you can do this via code, which we will learn later on, or you can do this via this object inspector by manually entering information. So we're currently on the form. Now if you look here on the left, this is on the property settings. So at the moment, we're looking at all the properties of this form at the moment, and we can change everything. Like over here, we can change the caption. Let's change this to something nice, and you notice how it changes here. We can change the height. Just by changing the height here, you'll notice it changes there, and the width changes with that. So everything is automatic if you do it like that. You can change the color. We can make this a nice blue form. It doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna keep it that's white. You can let's see. You can change the fonts. Literally everything you can imagine, you can change of the components. Now that is useful, obviously, and as I said, you can do this in code as well, and we'll look at that in a moment. At the right here, we have the project viewer. Now, this allows you to view all the files and everything inside your file folder, like the project file folder. And this will be useful later on when you start getting into classes and much more, intricate parts of the application building that we'll get into later. And then over here we have the palette. Now I can't remember whether Delphi 2010 has this viewer like of everything built in. I can't remember, but literally all you do is just type in the components you want. So let's say we want a button. Notice it's called T button, not just button, and you can hold it and drag it onto the form. And there we go. There's your button. Now notice the object inspector changing. The moment I dropped it in, now we're viewing the properties of the button. So we can change this button 1 to click me. And there it changes. Notice it is entirely different from what we just saw from before. So it is also useful to note that different components have different properties. So the click me button has, it has a caption, it has a name, different things that we can change later on, but just notice how the object inspector changes. So let's create our very first application. The basics you need to know at the moment is the concept of event handlers. Now, every component has an event, and every event has an event handler that is linked to a piece of code. So when you click on this button, go to the events viewer in the object inspector, and you'll notice there is an on-click event. So when you double click on this, it'll take you to the code. Now this is your event handler, and this is linked to this event, you see. And this event is linked to this button, T button, which in our case is called button 1. So you can add different buttons, like if I just copy paste this button, it will create an entirely new button and entirely new on event like in event handler. So everything has events that's linked to an individual component. In our case, we want to do something when the user clicks on this. And that's why it's on the on-click event handler. So you can double click on it, and there it takes you to the actual code. And in this procedure, the tform2.button1 click, there is where we put our code between the begin and end. So let's just do a very simple hello world program. We're going to just say show message, and this is a function you're going to use a lot, and we're going to type in a string, so you need to use single quotes at the moment. I'll get into variables and everything later on, and how text works, how numbers work. Just do exactly what I'm doing now. So you're going to put in two single quotes, and in between them, you're just going to say hello world. There you go, and you are done. Also, very important, we use the semicolon to end the line. It's the same as many other programming languages, C Sharp, C++, Java, everything you can imagine. They end with a semicolon, just like Delphi. And now we're going to run this program. Note you can run the program by pressing this button here, or you can press F9. And then it will load the form. There we go. And when we click on this button, it says click me. Ah, hello world. There we go. Your very first Delphi application. Now it is also important to note that we might want to save what we just did. Now Delphi uses a very weird saving procedure. So what you need to do is click on save all. So you can press Control Shift S, or you can just click on these two floppy icons. So if you click on that, it'll give you a prompt window whenever it, there we go. So now notice the file name. Every Delphi application has this pas file. Now this is a Pascal Delphi unit file. So you need to save this along with a different file called the project file, which I'll show you now, in order for this application to work. These two files are the most important files of an application. So we're usually taught in school to save this as like the project name followed by an underscore U. So this underscore U just tells you that this is a unit file. So it just helps later on when you start getting lots and lots of Pascal files in your applications. So I'll just say this is project name underscore U pas, and I'm going to save it in this new file I made here. So we're going to click save, and it will give you another one. Now notice this is a dproj. Now this is your Delphi project file. So and you can see over here. So this one is saved. Let's call it project name underscore p. So the underscore P is used to tell you that this is a project file. So that is obviously very important to know because you can delete every file in your folder, but you can't delete the project file and the unit file. They are essential to the application. So you save those, and there we go. Now our application is saved. And notice how it changes over here. Before it was like a weird project name, whatever, and now it's called project name underscore p.exe. So that's why it's important because the project file is your executable file. So don't delete that or you will lose everything. So that is a basic introduction to how to navigate Delphi, what these UI elements do and what they're for, how to add a component, how to change some of the component properties manually, and you can go and play with these, on your own time. Just put up a few buttons on a form and just change their properties and see what you can do. You can do uh, a few of these, and you can make some interesting looking forms. So I hope this was of use. Up next, we're going to do variables and some other fun stuff with calculations and doing a bit more coding than we did today. So thank you very much.